Welcome to YOUCANIC. Today here we got a 2019 Nissan Rogue, and we're going to go over how you'd replace the front brakes on this vehicle. First I've jacked up the vehicle. I've got it on jack stands and supported with jack stands and blocks. Brakes are, well, the brakes are off, so we can spin this still, but we have the tires are chalked so that it's not going to go anywhere, right? Now, we've removed the front tire. I've turned it to the right just for ease of access to be able to get these two bolts undone, and then there's two bolts behind it. These two bolts remove the caliper, and then the other two remove the whole carrier assembly, and we'll need to remove them so that we can remove the rotor, because we're doing brakes and rotors on this vehicle. So to start with, we need a size 14 to break these free and loosen it. So we'll leave the top one in a little bit, and then we'll want to take a screwdriver and just put it right here between the rotor and the front of the caliper. This is one way to push the caliper back, or the piston that's in the caliper. But we'll just start. That gives us enough free space, and so with that, now we can rotate this up, and we can see I think we're as far back as we're going to need to be, so we don't even need to do caliper compression or anything up in here with the brakes. So we can just go ahead and remove this bolt. And that way we can set this caliper up on the top here, and keeping as minimal strain on the brake line or the brake hose as we can. Now we'll want to loosen these two bolts, which are number 19, to get the carrier to come undone. While we're at it, let's just pop these brakes off. Alright, so got those bolts to break free. Alright, with those removed, now we can remove this whole carrier assembly. I'll set that aside. Use our persuader to get the rotor off. Okay, then we'll do some prep work to our carrier here. We need to take this wire brush and clean the little glide pins. This one, for whatever reason, didn't come with the metal clips and the spring in the kit that I bought. So just make sure we clean them up. Alright, so we've cleaned that portion of it up. Let's go ahead and pop this guide pin out and clean it up of all the old grease. And then we're going to put some fresh. And reinstall it. And you just push it down enough until it goes into place, and then that will also rub around that rubber grommet. And with that, a little extra grease on the end, it'll help seal out the oil, the dirt and the water. So we do that again with this one. And then put it back in, push it until it clips, and you kind of hear the stop noise there. Gonna wipe up the excess. So we've done all the work we need to with this, got that prepped and ready. So now, let's go ahead and get our new rotor. So we've got the new rotor, just going to clean it off with a solution. You can use brake cleaner or anything that will take the oil off. We want to have this as clean and free of oils as we can, so that your vehicle will stop properly when you want it to do that. I put this on for shipping purposes, because the raw metal will start rusting very quickly. So you just line that up with the holes and then press it in. Then we take our carrier and we reattach that the right way. Alright, with those two installed, the two number 19s installed, tightened. This is held into place where it needs to be for the moment. Now, we'll put the brake pads on. We also have, these don't matter which way they go, but we have the wear sensor. For whatever reason, we manually install our wear sensor right there. Now, one thing, you see these wire tabs? You want to make sure they go on the inside of the brake, because they're designed to help pull the brake out when you're not using the brakes at the time. Again, this little metal tab we want to have on the inside of that brake pad. You see how it's got that spring motion to hold these brakes off the caliper while you're driving when you're not using the brakes. That's what we want it to do. Alright, confirm that they're all those springs. We'll talk about these springs here. We want to make sure that we have them on the inside of the brake so that it will pull the brake away and off of the rotor when you're driving down the road. Then next, we just want to spin the caliper back around, drop it down, make sure you go over the brakes like that, set that in there, everything will fit in snug around there. Put the two size 14 bolts in. See, so I had to spin the guide pin. It's got two flat sides, and I had the round side up here, and that's why it wasn't working. So you got to spin it so that the flat side rests on the inside of this little tab, and then that way you're able to tighten it and also get it into place. And so that is all said and done. It's on there, it's installed. When you mount the tire and tighten the tire on and torque it to spec, it will put the rotor exactly where it needs to be. So then you would put the tire on, tighten it, put it down on the ground, then torque it to spec, and then also you'll remove your jack stands when you're doing that process. And make sure that you pump the brakes a couple times until they're stiff before you proceed to drive, and then that way the caliper, because right now it's loose, it will tighten up, and then that spring that's in here will widen it to where it needs to be so that it's not rubbing on the rotor itself. So that's how you replace your front brakes on your 2019 Nissan Rogue. Thanks for watching YOUCANIC, where you can be the mechanic.